You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company, attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. The Chiro Hustle podcast is sponsored by Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 735 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Garrett Gunderson. And if you want to hear our conversation about wealth management for chiropractors, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Garrett Gunderson on with me. This guy had an impression on me about 15 years ago. I read his book, Killing Sacred Cows, and I was just telling him off camera that it actually wasn't just an expensive business card. It was actually marketed well and created a movement. And I'm really excited to talk to him about that book and where he is today in 2025. But before we get into Garrett Gunderson and his stories and maybe a little comedy, I will tell you guys our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. We know what it's like to be censored, and we'd never censor you. Anybody that's ever done an episode with us, guess what? It's aired. So that's pretty cool about our standards. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same things, but if you need guidance on that, find a chiropractor. There's 70,000 of them in the US that you can go find. We just looked that up on ChatGTP. And before we get into that, I'll just tell people the market cap for chiropractic right now, USD globally, is $21 to $22 billion, which we've discussed is a little small. But philosophically speaking, we believe in protecting the sacred trust. Those are BJ Palmer's last words. If you guys don't know who BJ Palmer is, use your Google fingers and figure out who BJ Palmer was. But if you do know who BJ Palmer was, go to our show notes, click the link. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you did previously. I guarantee you. I don't care if you've been practicing for 30 years. We also believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. I know I shouldn't have to say this, but they're taking it out of the colleges. So if you know a chiropractic student out there, share the show with them. Everybody needs to understand these first 2 minutes of philosophy because they're taking this vernacular and squashing it. So share the show with the student. And then lastly, we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence and the educated intelligence. And this is where Garrett comes in because this is where the educated intelligence really plays strong. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, which creates the educated. And this is episode 735. Garrett Gunderson, welcome to the show.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. I mean, it's, good that we have some good people in common.
Yeah, shout out to Roberto Monaco for putting us in touch with each other. Thank you, Roberto.
Yeah, I was a guy. Anyone that doesn't know Roberto, get to know him. He's amazing at helping people communicate. Influenceology is phenomenal, and he's just a great human.
Yeah, and now he's connected us, so we're going to help more people together.
Love it.
I just want to go back into the chiropractic market cap briefly with you, because those are new numbers to you, I'm sure, which was $21 to $22 billion USD globally, and projected by 2030, the estimates between 30 and 35 billion. So pretty interesting numbers, right?
Means a lot of people aren't getting adjusted. The majority of the population is not utilizing chiropractic care.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, one of the numbers I hear from stage all the time is chiropractors are, this is my favorite Gary Vee move, like working in the trenches, seeing about 10% of the US population. And that's not a very expansive number.
No, that's pretty small when dentists are seeing over 50.
Well, I think that they got their act together and standardized the practice procedures. and they did a really good job of being accepted as somebody that was going to help make people healthy. I think that chiropractors came into this kicking and screaming, saying, no, we're not going to promote anything that has anything to do with pharmaceutical corruption, and we're just going to stick to our roots, check, detect, and correct vertebral subluxations. And that made them unpopular. As far as the dentist industry said, yep, we'll bandstand anything you say. We'll tell people to do whatever you tell us to do. And that's really why we have the swing from a 40% usage rate from chiropractic to dentistry, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, imagine like dentists putting mercury in people's mouths. Not very healthy.
Well, I will tell you, if anybody's looking for a biological dentist, Christopher Hadditz in Birmingham, Michigan, just took out 5 teeth of my mouth this past Monday with mercury fillings in it. So big shout out to Dr. Christopher out there for helping get the inflammation and the mercury amalgams out of my teeth.
Nice. That's good, man.
I think everybody needs to do it now.
And my wife had mercury, and we went to a biodentist and got those out. And I think it makes a big difference. I mean, the studies showing like what happens with that and Alzheimer's. I mean, the cheek is super absorptive for one. They have to get rid of it with a hazard thing. They got to wear gloves. Like, I mean, and yet we're putting it in people's mouths because it was malleable and easy to use. And, you know, it would create a class action lawsuit to admit they were wrong. So, yeah.
Well, here we are today.
I'm a financial guy, though. What do I know? You know?
Well, we're definitely not going to circle the wagons and shoot each other, because I think we're on the same pathways together with a lot of our mission and vision. And I could probably really use your services too. So let's preemptively tell people, if they wanted to connect with you, how can they network with you and use your services?
I feel like Instagram, I'm putting out videos every day so that there's nice little daily doses of financial nuggets. And we've got some really good things planned for that. That'll make it a little bit more entertaining while you get educated. So that's Garrett B. Gunderson. And, you know, we engage, like I engage with people if they DM me, and, you know, usually give them resources and support. So that's one good thing. GarrettGunderson.com. I write a blog like I'm still in 2005. I just like to write and get the information out there so they can follow that as well. And I do one long form every week on YouTube. So it's usually 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, and tackle a topic in finance, you know, and make it simple, easy, applicable. So those are a couple ways.
Well, really cool stuff. I'll ask you at closing too to rehash that information. Oh. But I do think anybody that's out there that's looking for guidance, obviously to implement the free is a whole different game. So go up and check him on Instagram, go to the blog, and use it in YouTube, and use the free information as far as the road will lead you. But when you're ready to make moves, reach out to him personally and see what him and his team can do to support you, making your money game stronger. Because I think everybody needs to improve their money game out there. I don't care how much you have, you can always have a little bit more. And if you're not managing it well, somebody else will manage it for you if it's not a priority, and they'll take most of it from you.
Well said. I mean, if we don't master money, then basically we're at a place where financial intelligence, or the lack thereof, costs us for a lifetime. It's a permanent penalty. And I get that there's a lot of information out there that seems overwhelming and it seems complicated, but you can really simplify finance down to just saying, A, how do I invest in myself so I can make more money, make a greater impact to create more value? B, how do I keep more of what I make without having to cut back by saving on tax, saving on interest, saving on non-performing investment fees, or designing insurance properly? 3, how do I grow my money? And that's about discovering your investor DNA so that you know what to invest in, what not to invest in, and that you get aligned with that and congruent with that. And then finally, you always grow yourself, you know, always looking at how do you create a great lifestyle? How do you protect your energy? How do you make sure you have good health? So that's really the formula. And 80% of what we think we need to know about finance, we don't actually need to know. We build the foundation, have the essentials, and then eliminate the distraction and the noise. And then what happens is it's just a better life.
Well, I think there's some really good tips there. So I would recommend anybody that watches this on replay or listens to this on replay, take your pen and paper out and start taking some notes, because we might say a couple things during this podcast that you will want to keep and move forward with. And, you know, I just think that information is valuable. And if we can create more value for the people that are watching and listening to us, that's going to be a game changer for a lot of people. Your first book that I mentioned in the opener, Killing Sacred Cows, was that your first book?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a self-published version that came out in 2007, the published version in 2008, and I just rewrote it in its entirety from scratch in 2023. So there's an updated version. It's got the investor DNA concepts. It's a few less words because I was really wordy in the first one because I was told to make a bigger book so it would look better on the shelf, but don't need a book to look good on the shelf anymore. Just need to make it better, more about the reader. So yeah, that's the first book. And dude, I look back, I can't believe I wrote that in my 20s. Like when I rewrote it, I was like, damn, how did I know this? I feel like it was kind of gifted to me more than like anything else. And so I think it's great it's like permission to prosper more than anything with that book. It's like, hey, there's 9 myths that if you don't understand, they're going to hold you back. They're going to confiscate wealth. They're going to create complexity. There's going to be missteps. But once you see it, you can't unsee it, So you just make more informed and better choices. You feel more empowered. And that's really a path to freedom.
Well, it's really interesting to see that you've been in the game so long and have
27 years this month. 27 years this month, man. Yeah.
And stayed relevant. And, I joke around with people all the time when I say podcast years are similar to dog years. And I can't imagine what the managing other people's wealth strategies does. I'm sure it's similar to dog years.
Yeah. It's funny.
Maybe that's the title of your new book. Investing is like dog years. But maybe there's a couple things that we'll share today during today's episode that will spark some interest for your YouTube reels and maybe some blog posts and some YouTube content. So I hope today's interview is super rich and valuable for people, not only from a monetary standpoint, but from an information share standpoint. So you said that you leaned it back. It was a bigger text when you released it, and now it's a little bit easier to digest for people and shorter.
Yeah, there was some fluff in that first one, man. There was some stuff that I listened to feedback. There were some chapters that were long and not as good, and so I started from scratch. I didn't take the book and I use the same framework, but I rewrote. I'm a better writer now. I've written a lot more hours since then. So I was like, let's make this about the reader and not so much about me. The first one, I was trying to prove myself a little bit. It was still valuable, but I was like insecure. I hadn't written before. So I'm like overdoing it. Now I'm like, no, let's look at the feedback. Let's think about the reader and let's say what really matters and what's that through line to get them to more prosperity.
Well, it seems like a lot has changed for you from that first publication into where we are 2025. So it's really empowering to see people that stick with the same game and get better over time. I'm sure if I went back and watched first episode of Chiro Hustle Podcast, I'd be like, who is that dude? What is he doing? And I would tell you that today we're putting out a better product too. So I think we do learn over time and get better with our skill sets.
Definitely.
Topic. The Rockefellers. I know you probably have a lot to say about this, but I am into chiropractic.
Yeah.
Chiropractors are not into the pharmaceutical industrial complex.
Right.
Talk about the Rockefellers and the pharmaceutical world a little bit.
When I wrote What Would the Rockefellers Do, I left out all the details about their influence and, what they did in the pharmaceutical world. So it's interesting. Sometimes chiropractors will be like, I can't believe you wrote about the Rockefellers. I'm just talking about how they passed on money for almost 7 generations now and those frameworks. I get that, they were like in petroleum and they're like, hey, let's get into pharma, and that there's a lot of destructive things that came about because of that. But that's not what I really put my emphasis on in writing the book, because, it's like someone once said, hey, why don't you write about the Rothschilds? I'm like, man, it's a pretty dark book. If I wrote about all the misdeeds and that with the wealthiest families, it's not really helpful for us. We get all upset and frustrated. So I was just taking what are the things that allow them to create a lasting legacy? And certainly they built their wealth in ways that I don't agree with. Just like I look at, what they did with pharma is what a lot of financial firms do with Wall Street. It's interesting how many parallels there are, that how much Wall Street has infiltrated people's minds when it comes to their money, just like pharma's infiltrated people's minds when it comes to their health. There aren't magic products. If there were, we'd just take it and we'd all be wealthy. There aren't magic pills. If there were, we'd take it, we'd all be healthy. The reality is both games require responsibility, and it takes looking outside of a system that's indoctrinating us to abdicate responsibility and hope for the best, because there's a product that's being sold to us where everybody else is profiting from. And so, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of opinion around health. I have a lot of opinion around wealth, but ultimately, did they do more harm than good? Well, definitely in the health world, there's a good argument for that.
Well, I think you said that very, very clear, that you're interested in the wealth of the frameworks and not so much what they did with the pharmaceutical involvement of the world, but you see it.
Yeah.
And I just read both of Robert Cialdini's books, and it says in there to use these skills of good for influence, not for dark, but for light. And I think that we both have to understand, and everybody that will pay attention to this episode, is there's two sides of every coin. There's a lightness side of your reality when you learn some of these masterful plans, and there's also the dark. And if you're in the lightness, use these things for good and make a pact with yourself and everybody around you that you'll only use the financial securities that you get from working with Garrett and his team for lightness and not darkness, because there are two sides to every coin. We have to be very aware of this, and to come into this world and do good with what you earn, and do good with how you save, and do good with the investments you make. And like you said, the pharmaceutical world and the Rockefeller world are a lot like Wall Street, and, funds that people put money into that they don't know who's recycling and putting their money into what. You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments. Ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR. Practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company. Attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. The Chiro Hustle Podcast is sponsored by Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle. A group of
companies they would never support, they would never spend their dollars on, that they wouldn't adhere to or agree with the philosophies, yet they just unknowingly hand their money over. So I kind of look at it like this, James. You've got abundance and you have scarcity. And people that come from a place of scarcity think there's only so much to go around, and that deception and coercion is the way to wealth. But people that come from abundance, they go, look, there's plenty of value, and the more value that's created, the more prosperity there is. It's not a finite pie. And that if we adhere to value creation through innovation and ingenuity, there's more for everyone. So taking from someone actually destroys wealth. Giving to someone creates wealth. And it's just interesting that so many people don't think about wealth creation as a value proposition when it comes to their money. They are almost like disassociated with it. And it's just crazy to me, because would you trust Wall Street in any other business, like Wall Street Airlines? Would you fly Wall Street Airlines? Because I wouldn't. They'd be like, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to crash. It's just we take a lot of risk. Wall Street Daycare, would you take your kids there? I wouldn't take my kids to Wall Street Daycare. It'd be like, oh, we lost 7% of your son, but it's just toes. I mean, like, yet we're supposed to trust them with our money. Just like when I go to Western medicine, like my son, he got in an accident on his bike when he was a little kid, and it cracked open his head and he was bleeding. And so I took him, and they're like, talking to my wife, I overhear it, and they're asking about vaccinations. So I just walk in, I'm like, hey, he's on schedule. I didn't say whose schedule, he's just on my schedule. You know what I'm saying? And they looked at me and they're like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, meaning he cracked his head open. Pay attention to what's the issue here. You don't need to bring your other stuff to me. And I'm just really direct about it, because I know that they're just indoctrinated. They don't know what's really going on. They haven't questioned it. They haven't looked at the studies. They don't know what's inside of it. It's just what they've become, simply because that's how they get paid. And if we look at finance, a lot of people give advice based upon how they get paid, and they're just funneling money to BlackRock. They're just funneling money to institutions that are, controlling far too much, because we've given away our power. And when it comes to our health, We have to take responsibility, whether it's the food that we eat, whether it's the way that we move our body, whether it's the sleep that we get, whether it's enough water, whether it's enough sun. And if we think that somehow we're going to take a pill, like all we have to do is watch those commercials, right? And those commercials are like showing people frolicking through the fields, but it talks about if you take it, your nuts are going to fall off and you're going to, you won't have restless leg syndrome, but you can't speak anymore. I mean, and they call it side effects. Those are effects, not side effects. And so we have to get out of the notion that there's a magic product or a magic pill. Neither exist. And if we buy into that philosophy, we give our power to people without our best intentions at heart. Their intentions are about profitability, not prosperity. And there is profitability that can be prosperous, but there's also profitability that comes from that scarcity mindset of deception or coercion. And so it's time to ask better questions. It's time to look at real results. It's time to look at the footprints of success or failure. And it's time to start asking what's best for us, not just what everyone else is doing, because that's what's led us to this dangerous place that we're in today.
Well, number one, I don't frolic through too many fields. Number two, I don't want my nuts to fall off. And number three, the funnel game about this, you said 7% of toes falling off. I don't want that either. And it's just, it's kind of humorous, but it's real. And we have to be more aware of who we trust with our big decisions. Our health being one of the most primary. Somebody always would tell me that if a man has his health, he has a million dreams. If he doesn't, he has one.
The one.
And we're talking in numbers there for you. And anybody out there that goes to the chiropractor, they understand that before they came into the chiropractor, there's probably something crummy going on in their life. And they were looking for that chiropractor to do something to remove that crumminess out of their life and make their life improve. And I think that that's really where we are right now with the chiropractic game, and where I want to talk to you about numbers is the chiropractor goes into the professional world as a healer. Chiropractic is a healing art.
They're not like, hey, I want to go get rich AF. Like they're like, hey, I want to help people. You're right. That's the intent.
It's a healing art.
Yep.
And chiropractors are tremendous healers. And there's nothing that stands in the arena with them that can even compete with them. There's not a pill, a potion, or lotion out there that can have any stance with what a chiropractor can do with the power of a chiropractic adjustment. And the other high-level suckers out there, the cut it out, drug it out, burn it out fools, they're a different level of what we call the healthcare world, which is actually sick care. Yeah. So it's just really crisis management and keeping people as consumers for as long as possible.
Well, let me tell you this, James. Like, oh, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, please go. Please go.
So this is my story in chiropractic. 25 years ago, I'm running and my toes start going numb. I talked to my buddy Blair. He's like, you need to go see Dr. Craig Bueller. All right. So I go to Craig's office. It's $50 for an adjustment. He talks to me for 30 minutes of the first session, and I don't even know what he's talking about, but it sounds smart. Now I can fully understand everything he says. I just saw him last week, and my toes are fine after one session. And then I notice he's adjusting Karl Malone and John Stockton. And, you go into his office, it's all these amazing like athletes that they brought him in. And then what happens is my son has at 18 months gets vaccinated, and he goes from being completely normal to hitting his head on the wall and not doing well. So, and I told my wife, like, I said, hey, I don't know if we should vaccinate. She goes, why? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I had no science behind it. I had no idea. It was just intuition. She's like, if you give me one reason, I won't do it. Well, I didn't have a reason. But then I go speak at this thing, Total Solutions, with Patrick Gentempo. And while I was there, my wife came with me. We just told our story about our son, and the chiropractors cared. There was a woman, Grace, that was becoming a client. She's like, I'm going to come out and see you. I'll just talk to your son a little bit. He was hiding from her under the table because he was having social anxiety and stuff like that. She goes, you know what? I'm going to find the right chiropractor in Utah. Calls Christina Stitcher. She starts helping my son. He starts getting better. He's not 100% better. So someone's like, go see Francis Murphy when you go to Dallas next time. He gives him a special adjustment. Tears come rolling down my son's face. Things get better. It's not 100%. So Patrick Gentempo says, you should check out this thing called Brain Camp. I take him, completely revolutionizes my son's life in Boston. And so I look at all these connections that came from chiropractors helping us out because they cared. A lot weren't being compensated for it. They just were helping out. And so I got really into a place where I was speaking all the time in chiropractic and, donating my time to a large degree because nobody was paying me. They were paying me in other industries. And I was just like, wanted to pay it forward. And I just met so many people that are now really close friends. It's just a profession filled with great people and also great speakers, by the way. I mean, maybe part of that's Roberto for sure, but it's just like, I feel like the profession's a little bit spoiled because you have people that had to find their way to go against everyone else, and they have to articulate that in a way that makes sense to people, so they can't be lazy about it. They become very skilled. And now I look at all that we've learned from all the chiropractors in my life that we just have had a transformed life, and what that meant for my sister who didn't vaccinate her kids, and what it meant for my family. Like my dad is a coal miner. And he was thinking about having surgery on his arm because he just was tingling. I'm like, man, you need to go see Craig Bueller. And he goes and he's like 72. He goes bow hunting with me every year, and he's feeling great, and it is pain free. Like I remember one time he came out of the mine, couldn't walk, and my buddy Encore, who's a chiropractor, we're in New York, and he adjusted my dad, and then my dad he felt better. It's like these are people that truly care and that they are willing to help out. And so I want to see them be in a good financial position, because if they're not in a good financial position, that means that they can't hire the right people. It means that they can't advertise properly. It means that they can't have the equipment that they want. It means that they have too much stress and they're in survival versus thriving. And so it's really important for their financial house to be in order and to be financially fit and maybe even financially independent and have the freedom of choice where they can go and do what they want to do, not because they have to do it. If the bills are being paid, then they can focus on how they can truly help the people that are in front of them. And I just think it's a profession that doesn't have a lot of training about that. Not that anyone really does, but they're accidental tourists to the business world. They didn't go to get a business degree to be a chiropractor. They went to get a DC to be a chiropractor. And they're also really open. They're really willing to learn. They're not learned and think they know everything. So I have a passion for the profession based upon all of that. And I just wanted to kind of speak to that story of what a difference it's made and how it's transformed my family's life because of them. Like my mother-in-law was falling, and I'm like, you need to go see Bueller. And now she's not. My father-in-law has been falling. I'm like, you need to go see Bueller. I'm like, whether we pay, he's got plenty of money. I'm like, go see him. You will feel massively better. Your wife is healthy now because of this, And so it's just like, it's pretty exciting that there's people out there with that type of ability and talent that can truly help people. There's another guy in Utah, Corey Frogley. There's only one in the world that's helped my wife shoulder heal. Like it's just amazing the talent that's out there in this profession and what that does for people.
That's usually how I open up the show, as I ask people to tell their chiropractic story. But you not being a chiropractor, I was just like, we'll talk. We'll go into his circle of genius, and we'll go talk to him about the financial world. That's why I opened it up a little bit different. But I really appreciate you sharing that, because there's going to be a lot of people out there that will watch this episode over time, and it's an evergreen episode. So when people 5 years from now are looking for you because we index so well, they're going to see this Chiro Hustle podcast episode, and they're going to be like, that's the guy I want to work with. So it's really cool that you do share these passion stories and this big why, because you have a big why of why you do it too. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time left together today, but please share like your 3 best wealth management strategies for a chiropractor.
So number one, you pay yourself first by taking money off the top to build up enough stability that you have peace of mind. You have staying power. Number 2, you plug your financial leaks. Save on tax, save on interest, save on investment fees, and save on insurance costs by designing properly. And that's going to put 10% or more of money back into your life. And then number 3, you got to learn to discern opportunity from distraction. There's a lot of things that sound like good opportunities that people lose money on. Don't invest in things you don't know. Risk isn't in the investment, it's in you, the investor. So you invest in yourself, the skill sets that matter, your ability to communicate, your ability to build a business, your ability to have financial intelligence so you can keep more of what you make. And that when you build and grow yourself, then you'll make more money. And then you learn to invest when you have that money that's aligned with who you are, and forget the rest. If you do those simple things, you're going to find you're going to have a lot more peace of mind, financial clarity, and ultimately financial confidence. You are your greatest asset, not a stock, bond, or piece of real estate. So you've got to grow yourself. If you grow yourself, you grow your wealth. If you try to grow your wealth and you don't invest in your team or you don't invest in yourself, you'll end up with money that's locked away, subject to inflation, subject to interest rate fluctuations, subject to tax fluctuations, and you'll feel fear because you'll have no control over the outcome of your income. So focus on cash flow. Become a cash flow investor. But the best cash flow you'll create is the infrastructure, the team, and the knowledge of growing your business first. Don't suffocate that. Don't put money in plans that are locked away forever that you can't tap into, and then they make you get into debt. And you got it. I could go on forever, but you just said 3, so I didn't want to go too far.
It's really cool though that you understand like the pain points of the profession.
Yeah.
And I think one of the taglines to that segment there can be understanding cash flow from cash damming. And
Right.
I think a lot of people cash dam themselves and they dam up their resources when it should be flowing. And they create these artificial resistances inside of their life and their prosperity because they take advice from somebody that doesn't have their best interest in mind. It's just following a plan that's broken.
And they might be good people with all the best intentions, just like an MD might be a good person with all the best intentions. But here's the thing. Good intentions and misinformation still lead to destruction and poverty. That's the thing we gotta understand.
And poor outcomes. And
Totally.
like you said, after that first adjustment, guess what? You could run without your toes going numb.
Yep.
And maybe the first time somebody works with you, they can go about their day and they know that they're saving top line revenue and they have the ability not to be attached to the golden handcuffs.
Yep.
They can take a vacation every quarter, 10 days, and they know that it's going to be taken care of and they don't have to worry about if they're putting it on their credit card and going into further debt. And they can get a wealth management strategy going for them.
Yeah, create the life you don't want to retire from. Enjoy life along the way. Like I just went to New York and Miami with my wife for our 23rd anniversary, and the business was still running, and I didn't have any scarcity about being gone. When I go back to when I was, I guess it would have been 19 years ago when I went to San Diego, I hadn't really built my business up yet. So the whole time I'm thinking about the money I'm not making. I'm in scarcity. We're spending less money on vacation than we would at home because I didn't have the right mindset. I didn't have the right methodologies. I didn't have the right framework. I learned through trial and error, but the difference is I learned from it instead of defending my poor actions. I said, you know what? Maybe net worth isn't the ultimate achievement. Maybe cash flow matters more than that. Maybe quality of life should be at the forefront of this, not just something we wait for 30 years for. I was willing to be more committed to what's right than who's right. And sometimes I was wrong. And killing sacred cows is a confessional. Here's the things I got wrong early in my life. And instead of defending them, maybe you could learn from these mistakes and do better. You know, that was the thing. It was hard. I was a young, arrogant dick, and I wanted to be right. And it was hard to tell people, this is what I was trained and taught on, but it wasn't really working. So I think I saved people a lot of money by just owning it.
Well, there's a lot of power in those statements there, and admitting that we sometimes miss our mark and as we mature with life is very, 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 very important. So thank you for being so candid and honest. Close out. I know you're probably got the next thing booked that we're over time on, but you did give a little comedy sample earlier.
Yeah.
Give me one more minute of a few things that might make our audience laugh today.
Well, first off, if people DM me, Chiro Hustle, I will give them Killing Sacred Cows audiobook, and I have an hour of comedy in that book. So after each chapter, I do comedy on that topic so they can kind of laugh and learn. But yeah, I'll just, since we're talking Killing Sacred Cows, I remember the first podcast I did when the book came out. I was so proud of myself with the book, and it was a 90-minute podcast. And the guy goes, "We have the author of Killing Scared Crows on with us." I was like, okay. And so I kept correcting him. And then I was like, "What's this book about?" Like an apparent terrified bird murder enthusiast. Like I didn't know what he did. And so at the end he goes, "What do you think I should invest in?" I'm like, "Glasses? Literacy? Maybe a new career?" I mean, I was like, yeah. So that's none like that to humble you, you know?
Killing Sacred Crows, guys.
Yeah.
And then favorite way to stay connected to your tribe. I know you said you do a blog. Is that your favorite way?
Yeah, I respond to all blog comments. I actually respond a lot in the DMs of Instagram, and I actually respond to any coherent comment on YouTube. Sometimes I'm a smart ass because people are mean to me, and I'm a comedian, so they should expect that I'll be a little bit, like someone's like, this guy's a dick. I'm like, yeah, someone should kick his ass. That'd be my response, But when it's real response, like real comments, I'll respond, and that lets me kind of stay connected to people. But when people are my programs, then they're a lot more connected. But I'm here to serve people even if they don't pay me.
So go get that free download. Put Chiro Hustle in there. Check it out, and go to his website, GarrettGunderson.com. And his Instagram handle is at Garrett B. Gunderson. And follow this guy, support this man, and he'll support you back. And that's the law of reciprocity. When you give somebody something of value, guess what? They're intrinsically going to give you something back in return. So Roberto Monaco, thank you for giving me Garrett Gunderson today. And Garrett, hopefully I gave you some value in return for that time with me today on the Chiro Hustle podcast.
Definitely. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for promoting me. Thanks for what you're doing. And it was a pleasure.
Cool. Well, I'm going to close out like I always do. Your episode 735 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Come check us out over at chirohustle.com. If you found some value in this, please share the show. Share the show with the chiropractic student. Share the show with somebody that's mismanaged in the financial world. Not saying that they're bad people. They're just not informed. And with that being said, you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.